What's going on, people, and welcome back to Cop Ultras, a podcast show, your home for everything Liverpool. So, today we dive into the biggest summer transfer window of all time, the saga of all sagas, Alexander Isak to Liverpool. So, with Núñez and Diaz leaving Liverpool, and also with the tragic loss of Diogo Jota, rest in peace, Liverpool are reshaping their attack. Now, could Isak be the main man to lead the front line for Liverpool? And also, how will he link up with Wirtz, Salah, Gakpo, and Ekitike? Plus, let's look if there are also any other financial obstacles like PSR rules standing in the way between the transfer of Alexander Isak to Liverpool. Now, let's break it all down. So, now let's go. I will try to do this part by part. In one episode. So let's do it a little bit quickly. So the first one part would be why Liverpool want Isak. So Liverpool currently don't really have a proven goal scorer. That means goal scorers other than Mo Salah himself. So Mo Salah has carried most of the burden in terms of scoring and assisting last season, and that one and what he has done ultimately led us to win the Premier League last season. Now, in some ways, Liverpool still need a proven goal scorer to take the burden of Salah and who can also handle the Premier League intensity. So, Isak has already scored about 21 to 23 league goals, if I'm not mistaken. Very clinical and a very technically gifted footballer, and he's very ice cool in front of goal. Most of it is very evident when he's played against us. So there are many instances, not just against Liverpool, but against other teams as well, in which uh, Isak has been this deadly striker. So he sort of has this blend of height and speed, more or less, which is equivalent of what Darwin Núñez had, but Darwin Núñez was a little bit more of a more of a fast moving striker. He liked a little bit of chaos here and there. Isak has always been next level. When we see the type of goals he scores, when we see the type of link up plays he does the link up combinations with some of his with Anthony Gordon or Joe Linton or Murphy, these kind of players, and also with Sandro Tonali and Guimaraes, you see that kind of chemistry link up play between them. It's very fun to watch when as a neutral fan, but when we look at from a Liverpool fan's perspective, it would be like Isak would be that definitely be that dream signing that we've always wanted. Now, Isak is already 25 years old, which is also considered to be a prime age when it comes to being a footballer. He's already entering his peak, and he could be that sort of like that franchise player for Liverpool. If he ever comes here, he would definitely be that franchise player, much like how Salah is and was throughout his Liverpool career as well. Part 2 is going to be partnerships and attack dynamics. The first one would be how would Isak link up with Wirtz? Now, Wirtz is more of like the creative heartbeat of the team. Like I always say, he's like the focal point of attack, that creative hub right in the middle, who always finds that pocket of space, always likes to play. There's these link up passes, always finds players on the wide areas. So Wirtz is that type of player. Now, when it comes to Isak now thrives on through balls. He likes to thrive on quick combinations, and he also likes to find these pockets of space in and behind the defenders. So now you see the equivalent of having a Wirtz and an Isak as a front line. It's sort of like a classic creator finisher sort of duo. So we've seen this with the likes when we had Fernando Torres in his prime, Gerrard in his prime. We would always see Gerrard being the creator and Torres being the finisher, and they always complemented each other very, very well. Throughout the years that we've been with Liverpool, we've seen these two players actually flourish and score goals galore, and that combination and that partnership was such a joy to watch. And definitely, if Isak joins Liverpool, we could see another version of Liverpool under Arne Slot with Isak and Wirtz, which is like a super deadly combo. So that will be interesting to watch. Now Isak and Wirtz combo is done. Now let's look at how Isak and Salah would play. Now Salah under Klopp, he was a very gegenpressing player. He always presses high, which he still does. But then now, almost towards the twilight of his career, it's a bit lesser right now. But then what he does is he always controls these long passes or any passes, even if it's a grounded pass. He controls the ball. He always makes sure that he always has a defender behind him, so that allows another striker or another false nine to run in and behind. Now Salah always commands this sort of like this double marking, sort of like he would be that focal point where they would pass him the ball, and there would be at least two defenders still have to defend him regardless whether he has a ball on his feet or doesn't have a ball on his feet. So that opens up different avenues for attack. Now with Isak, just imagine with Isak just being at the center with the center backs of an opponent center backs and trying to pull them out of position. Now this in turn allows Salah to run in behind, trying to see, look for that Isak would in turn look for that killer pass, and Salah would in turn receive it, and then he could go into the attack, cut inside and shoot, which is classic vintage Mo Salah. So you could always see this sort of like Isak layoffs or Salah laying off to Isak. So these two players can be deadly in that sense. They can complement each other, because you could see them, laying off each other the ball once in a while, in certain periods of the game, just making sure that either one of them can get a shot on target. Now that is a very, very deadly partnership. With Isak and Salah done, let's look at how Isak and Ekitike would actually partner up. Now with Isak and Ekitike gives more of a aerial threat and also this rotation depth, meaning that if there is a certain point in time where Isak needs to play up front, and then we do have Gakpo on the left and Salah on the right, then Ekitike can still be coming off the bench and still providing more depth and more quality, and not just aerial threat, but he has already shown in the first game of the season that he has got the technical ability, and he has a knack for scoring goals. In certain games, Ekitike could play and Slot could also bring both of them together. Not necessarily it just has to be Isak only up front. It could be Ekitike up front, or it could be the both of them up front. So maybe Gakpo could come off from the bench. Ekitike can play in from the left. We can still see the two of them playing centrally, even though Ekitike is playing from the left, but you could see them play centrally. Now that is also a very interesting take as well. And then when we look at Isak and Gakpo, for Cody Gakpo, I think we always underrate him for some reason. A lot of our fan base don't really talk much about him, because they always see sometimes too much of negative side of him. Sometimes he fumbles the ball, he drags the play too long, which is fair point. It's fair criticism. I think he also knows that as well. But he is very versatile. He is very good in the air. Not to say he's very good in the air. He's very good with the ball. His ball recovery is very good. He doesn't lose possession a lot, and he is cutting inside, shooting. That vintage sort of like that. That is sort of like being the staple of Cody Gakpo. You're cutting inside and shooting in with your right foot. I think that has already become a sort of like a mantra for Cody to always do that. And it was very evident because he also scored a goal against Bournemouth as well. So you could see that. And also he can play on the left, he can also play on the right, he can play as a central striker, he can play as a false nine, he could always play as a midfielder as well. So these multifunctional aspects is what Slot likes from Gakpo as well. So ultimately that is why Gakpo is still in the Liverpool squad, and also very much part of Slot's project as well moving forward. Now his ability, like I said earlier, his ability to carry the ball at the pace now could complement Isak's movement. Now just imagine of that kind of like a link up triangle between Wirtz, Gakpo and Isak. There's just juice. because we already seen how Wirtz and Gakpo play together. But imagine just in the middle you have Isak in it. So it, I know it sounds good. I know it sounds good. Trust me, it just sounds just good, that damn good. Now we have a flexible attacking unit. So we can have Wirtz as the creator, Salah can be the finisher, Isak can be the reference point between these players like Gakpo, Salah, Wirtz, Ekitike as well. And Gakpo and Ekitike are also sort of like adaptable pieces whom you can swap like for like and play together in tandem with Isak and Salah. So this depth and versatility definitely it makes Liverpool be very, very unpredictable moving forward, not only just in this season and from years to come. Now we have to go to part 3, which is the tricky part. Sort of like the tricky part of this whole Isak transfer saga, which is Newcastle's PSR problem. Under the Premier League PSR rules, clubs can only lose about 105 million British pounds every 3 years. So that is the maximum amount that you could lose a certain year. Clubs can only lose about 105 million British pounds over 3 years. So that's the only maximum amount you can lose for over 3 years. And then, like I said previously as well, Newcastle have spent heavily on the likes of Sandro Tonali, Anthony Gordon, Barnes, and a few other players as well, means they need sales here and there just to balance the books. Now, they have spent a lot of money, and if you don't sell players and you don't generate any revenue, you are sort of breaching PSR rules. And then, Isak, he's their most prized asset. So when you have a very prized asset with you like Isak, now if they sell him, it basically sort of gives them a level playing field in the PSR rules. If they don't, and they are still trying to find a replacement and sort of like here and there, and with all the signings that they have made, they do have some issues with PSR which they need to force their hand into selling players that who are sort of like important pieces of the Newcastle puzzle and for Eddie Howe as well. There is sort of like the base. I just give you guys a foundation of what Newcastle is going through now. When you come to our financial health, Liverpool's financial health, we in contrast are one of the most financially efficient and stable clubs in England. We have spent in smart. The money we have spent on the stadium, on staff recruitment, also on player recruitment, on manager recruitments here and there, we have spent it wisely. And we always have a smart wage structure whenever it comes to players. We don't necessarily overpay them, and we don't underpay them. If you perform well, we pay you well. If you don't perform well, then you stay where you are. You can't over demand. I think basically that's what they mean. And then, like I said previously, they don't overspend. And then when I said in the first beginning itself, we've already sold Darwin Nunez, we've already sold Luis Diaz. There itself, we already have about 120 million euro, 120 million British pounds combined just for the two of them. We haven't even mentioned about the likes of Kelleher, whom we sold to Brentford, and also Ben Doak, who has now gone to Bournemouth. We also there's also a potential where Costa Simicas is also going to be sold as well, because he's also not part of the team anymore in first team training. So he could be likely be leaving. So balancing the books is what Liverpool are really good at right now. Being very financially stable has helped them in terms of PSR to actually go for the likes of big money spending and signing world class young talents like Florian Wirtz, the Frimpongs and the Kirkezes and Ekitikes. So that is what gives leverage for Liverpool to sign good talent and good talents who are good for the future. And they are also backed by Champions League revenue as well. We won the Premier League last season, so ultimately we've already qualified for the Premier League. Now, with the Champions League coming back, with the Champions League group stage starting soon, so there's extra revenue there as well. The bottom line is we don't have any PSR issues at all, even if we were to break the bank again for Alexander Isak. And we don't have any risk of penalties as well in terms of spending is concerned. This part 4, which is about legacy and emotion. In terms of legacy, Liverpool fans, as a fan base, as a club, we know that strikers who play under the floodlights at Anfield aren't just your usual casual strikers. They always become the symbols of an era. Just a short list of some of the players who have defined an era in Liverpool. So we have Ian Rush. Think of Ian Rush, who defined the 80s with his ruthless finishing. 80s, the time of our parents and our grandparents. Robbie Fowler, whom we always call him as God. He was loved by the cop as a local hero. He came up the ranks from the academy, and what a player he was for us for all those years that he's been with us during the 90s. And then we also had Fernando Torres, electric, unstoppable, carrying Liverpool through the late 2000s. And then we also had Luis Suarez, who was very controversial but unforgettable. But what a striker he was! Who almost single-handedly lifted us to the title, lifted us into a title race against Manchester City. And then we have finally Bobby, the ever classic Bobby Firmino. He was that sort of like that false nine magician, the whole gegenpressing Klopp team, the rock and roll football of Liverpool during the 2018-19 season all the way up to 2023-2024. So with Klopp gone and now Arne Slot now being in charge and starting a different project and having a different outlook of how the team should look like, now Alexander Isak could be that number 9 to write his name and create a legacy for himself in this Liverpool team. He wouldn't be just sort of like replacing players like Núñez and Díaz and all that, but he'll be stepping into a much bigger role now to be that striker that reconnects with everyone's minds. Because yes, we are still shaken emotionally by the tragic loss of Diogo Jota and all that. Now signing Isak does happen, and hopefully eventually it will. We feel sort of that tactical void of not having a striker, because we've already we don't have a striker. I understand that other positions are also very, very important as well, but the striking options, we do need that. We can't still put all the eggs in one basket and expect Salah to be always scoring and assisting for us. So that is very, very important as well. So the club itself as a whole can give something for the fans to believe in if we were to sign Isak. After all that's happened to us, with Diogo Jota's passing and all that. And so guys, with that being said, that is the end of my Isak to Liverpool, sort of like the transfer saga, and how Isak would actually link up with the rest of the players that we have already signed and whoever is already there. Let me know what you guys think. Will Isak to Liverpool eventually happen, or will Isak submit a transfer request? We never know. Let me know what you guys think. Definitely like, share, and subscribe to my podcast channel on YouTube. Click the bell icon as well so that you get your notifications in when my videos are uploaded. And I'll talk to you guys real soon. Hope this whole episode regarding Alexander Isak gives you more insight as to what Isak could offer us up front, and also as a whole moving forward in the Arne Slot era, what can we expect. So signing off, me, Poohan. Thank you so much for watching, and like I always say, you'll never walk alone, guys. Take care.